Hello, welcome to the sideboard at Grand Prix Miami. I'm Nick Miller alongside Brad Nelson. How you doing, sir?
Pretty good. I feel like we've been here before.
We have. When you're the standard master like yourself, just running over GPs left and right, we got to talk to you.
Yep.
And you're just juking and jiving the standard format. You play Abzan one week, you play a Mardu a long time ago, you're just switching it up. Now you have green-white devotion.
Yep.
What made you come to this build?
Well, last weekend Jerry sent me a list, and it was a list that he was working on that Sam Black posted from his article, or his video actually. He did a video on a green-white devotion deck with masteries, and it was really sweet, but Jerry was working on it. It didn't really have a sideboard, but the power was there. So like BBD and I just were jamming tons of games this week trying to get this deck working, and we finally got it to a place where you actually have a sideboard and you're not playing like Disciples and Hornet Nests and Hornet Queens and all these cards that aren't actually that good. And once we had a sideboard for the deck was just fluid. It just crushed all week. So, you know, props to Sam for designing the deck and for BBD helping me develop it. Same with Jerry.
Right. We saw Sam's article go up, but I know I talked to you Tuesday of this week and you were working on the deck already. Yeah. Were you in cahoots with him from before, or did you both just kind of come to the same conclusion?
Yeah, no, I mean, we talked a little bit last night, and I think he took a couple of our pieces of tech, the ones that didn't make him want to vomit.
Right.
And yeah, we just talked a little bit last night, but outside of that, we were just on our own testing.
Okay, so you guys both came to this similar build, and Mastery of the Unseen has just been the talk of the tournament. It is just in so many decks today.
It's also sold out.
Right.
Before the tournament even started, it was sold out of all the vendors.
So talk about the power of this card. We saw it at the Open in LA in a semifinal match in the finals in a Naya shell. What's so good about this card?
Well, it's just inevitability on its own. And one of the things about this format is every deck is aggressive, but also plays enough removal so they don't just die, and also plays enough ways to gain, you know, advantages in the attrition war, like Outpost Siege, Whip of Erebos, you know, the Read the Bones out of the Abzan control decks. Jeskai has Dig Through Time. All the control decks have Dig Through Time, and those things help you keep in the games. But if you're just a deck that ignores your opponent and just plays Mastery of the Unseen, you just ignore what they're doing, and you have more velocity because you're ripping through your deck really fast. You're finding more Whisperwoods. You're getting a big board position. You're gaining way too much life for them to ever deal with. So the aggressive decks just peter out immediately. Even if they have Stormbreath Dragons. Like, my opponents have conceded to me with 3 Stormbreath Dragons in play. Like, they just can't deal enough damage. And so that's the advantages of playing this card, just because you have so many cheap creatures that just flip, and multiples don't really, the first ability actually gains you a bunch of life, but the second ability does nothing on the other copies. So they're really good and bad together.
Right, so with multiple masteries, you get to gain 2 life per creature that is turned up.
Yeah.
But, you know, you've got your green devotion cell, you've got your coursers and all that stuff. But you're moving up to the white cards. You have Fleecemane Lion, and then your payoff cards being Pelucranos, Whisperwood, and Genesis Hydra.
Yeah.
So no Hornet Queens, none of that other stuff. You're not going Temur Sabertooth and all the...
Yeah, I don't think you need them. Like, you're going to find the ways to win the games anyway. Like, Fleecemane in the main is just a concession to the decks that are polarized. Like, the aggressive decks and the control decks all have, like, rough times dealing with Fleecemane Lions. And so that's why we have it. It's worse in the mid-range and the decks that are kind of in the middle, and it's really bad in the mirror, but we're just hoping to dodge a lot of like the mirror matches, the green-red ramp decks, the green-white ramp decks, and we have sideboard cards to alleviate that. And then the Pelucranos is the way that you beat the board stalls. You get Nykthos and like 3 Satyr Voyaging Satyrs in play, and then you finally find a Pelucranos, you flip it, add, you know, 80 mana to your mana pool, kill every creature they have, and then just attack for the win. I mean, it's just a little kid deck. Like, you ignore what your opponents are doing, gain as much life as possible, and chump block a lot, and then you just kill them in one big swing when you have an overpowered board position. It's not how I usually play Magic.
Just a big little kid deck.
Oh yeah, this is green-white little kid just all over again. It's the most little kid deck I've ever seen.
Right. You've got a couple of Oblivion Rings or Banishing Light
Lights,
in the main deck as answers. Now, the fun part is the sideboard card. I talked to BBD earlier today, and he pointed this one out. High Sentinels of Irration.
You had to read it, didn't you?
No. Well, I had it in a pre-release once, so I've seen it in sealed, and I can only imagine how fun it is to play it in this sort of matchup.
Yeah, so High Sentinels of Irration is here to fight Xenagoses and block Manus Riders. It's not that efficient, but Pelucranos is really good in the mirrors, but you also could use other mana sinks, and High Sentinels does that. Like, late game, you can just keep attacking in the air and get it really big, put a counter on every single one of your creatures, so now all of a sudden you just have this huge threat. In the actual Stone Mirror, it's bad because Mastery just overpowers it, oddly enough. But it's the answer to green-red that we need to fight Xenagos, or just to give us a little bit more push in the matchup, because we have no card that is advantaged. They have all the trumps, so we needed a trump. But yeah, it's just there to be good in those two situations. And the cool thing is against like Jeskai, you can Genesis Hydra into it, and now you already have a counter on a guy, so it's a 4/5,
wow.
and you can't even stoke it.
Yep, just too big.
Yeah.
You got some Nissas and some Boon Satyrs. I imagine those are fighting control.
Yeah, Boon Satyr is the best card you can have against the Sultai and these blue-black decks, because it's an instant threat, it hits really hard, and both ways to cast it can't get Disdainful Stroked, and it's good against Ashiok. Like, we just needed, everything about this card is exactly what our deck needs.
Okay. Reclamation Sage, just a card that is just continuing to get better every week.
Yeah, there's so many enchantments.
Deck techs like 8 weeks ago, and I'm like, Reclamation Sage has always got targets, and just week after week, with Master of the Unseen, even more so.
Yeah, the enchantments are insane. Like, Courser is already an enchantment, so every deck that plays green is going to have a target that's good to hit with it. But now, yeah, I mean, we have whips, we have all these Mastery of the Unseens, we have all these Outpost Sieges. Like, all these enchantments from the new set has just pushed it forward to where every deck is probably playing a very powerful enchantment.
Right. Jeskai Ascendancy, Whip of Erebus,
Chain of the Rocks, yeah.
Glare Heresy, just one of the best sideboard cards in the format.
Probably the best sideboard card in the format. Like, we don't want to overindulge in that effect, because the last card we're going to talk about is the one you need more of.
Right.
But Glare's good against almost half the decks, because white is by far the best color in the format.
You'll find it in Jeskai and in Abzan, two of the strongest decks.
Yeah.
Valorous Stance, you got full 4 in the sideboard, correct?
Yeah.
Now that's going pretty hard.
Well, it's going pretty hard, but against Abzan control, it's Doomblade Negate, split card.
Yep.
It's perfect. Like, it protects your guy from removal spell, it kills their guy. Sometimes a Tazgor Rhino is holding back like 3 or 4 guys that if you just untap kill it, you deal 6 to them, and now they're in a really bad spot, but they can hold back a couple manifest tokens. And then in the mid game, it counters their heroes' downfalls. It keeps one of your guys alive through an end hostilities.
Right.
But most importantly, it's for the mirror, because Polukranos is such a big key player in the mirror, same with Whisperwood, that if you're able to just go Valorous Stance your Whisperwood, untap, play my own, and you now have a board position, they don't.
So you mentioned you don't really have a sideboard plan for the straight green-white mirror. How are you going to beat that matchup? We've already had one on camera this weekend.
We have cards, like we have Glares and Reclamation Sages. Like, the problem with decks like this in the mirror match is just, it's whatever happens, happens. Like, whoever draws better, like, there's no real good game plan. You just have to build a better board and keep their Masters off the board, keep their Pelukinosis and Whisperwoods off the board. If you draw more of yours, like, your Genesis Hydras are really big, because you can hit Rings and Reclamation Sages to deal with their Rings and Masteries. Right. So I have no idea. We'll just see what happens.
All right. Well, we've already seen a taste of it on the stream, so I'm sure you'll run into it at some point and you'll let us know.
Wasn't there a game where both the life totals combined was over 700?
Yes. So get ready for that.
Yeah, that sounds like a delight.
Brad, thanks for sitting down with me in the sideboard.
Sure.
Awesome deck as usual.
Thank you.
Stay tuned to StarCityGames.com all weekend long for the action here in Miami.